For many years, the United States government has imposed travel bans on several prominent Kenyans and their families, for various reasons ranging from corruption and drug trafficking. In 2011, during the tenure of President Barack Obama, 2 Kenyans were declared illegible to enter the U.S. after the Obama administration released a list of suspected and most wanted drug traffickers in the world. Other prominent personalities have been banned from traveling to the U.S. over allegations of bribery and corruption. Online Community KE has compiled a list of prominent Kenyans who have been banned from entering the U.S. over the years. Harun Mwau. In 2011, the Obama administration released a list of 5 individuals who were banned from the U.S. over alleged dealings in drug trafficking, especially the narcotics business. The names were handed over to the then Interior Security Minister, the late George Saitoti, who named the culprits during a Kenya Parliament proceedings.
I have been informed the following are the honorable members suspected.
In the list was the name of former Kilome Member of Parliament, Harun Mwau.
Honorable Mwau.
In a presser the same year, then U.S. Director of America's Office of Foreign Assets Control, Adam Subin, linked the businessman to narcotics worth billions of shillings that were seized in the country in 2004.
Mr. Mwau is viewed as among the most powerful and active narcotics traffickers in the region. He is involved in international and domestic drug trafficking,
the U.S. official stated at the time. However, Mwau denied the allegations.
When you are entering maybe Europe or Britain, there are 2 entries. Red, something to declare. Green, nothing to declare. Then you are following your comrade to go, nothing to declare. But since your name has been picked in the computer that you are one of the Kenya MPs who are alleged to be involved in criminal activity.
Prior to the release of the Obama list, Mwau resigned from the government as the Assistant Minister for Trade over similar allegations.
So we have now granted him the request to step aside so that investigations can be concluded speedily. Amesema ati jina yake imechafuliwa na nataka isafishwe kupitia kwa uchunguzi kamili.
He stated that he wanted to clear his name, maintaining that he had never been found guilty of the allegations. The assets of the former Kilome MP Harun Mwau in the United States have been frozen, following his designation as one of the global drug trafficking kingpins by President Barack Obama, effectively cutting off any business links he may have had with U.S. citizens and corporations. The U.S. Department of State banned former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko and his entire family members from stepping into the country due to his involvement in what they termed as significant corruption. According to Ned Price, the U.S. had impeccable information that while in office, Governor Sonko solicited bribes and kickbacks in exchange for awarding government contracts to his associates. He is alleged to have embezzled more than 300 million shillings, partly through the irregular awarding of contracts to friends' companies that are said to have wired money to his personal accounts after receiving their payments from Nairobi County. The former county boss, however, insisted that he had never been found guilty of corruption, stating that the cases against him were still pending in court. He also defended his family, stating that none of them received tenders from the county government during his tenure. Sonko is also among other Kenyans mentioned in a 2011 report by American investigators, which was handed to the then Interior Minister George Saitoti, who went ahead and named the suspects in Parliament. The report had linked Sonko to narcotics trade.
The officers who came to the Continental building, they refused to identify themselves.
In 2019, former Attorney General, together with his family, were barred from traveling to the U.S. over allegations that the Busia senator was involved in corrupt dealings. Amos Wako, who was Attorney General during Kenya's rocky transition from one-party rule to democracy, is barred from entering the United States under the sanctions, as are his wife and son. Washington criticized Amos Wako several times during his tenure as Attorney General from 1991 to 2011 for not doing enough to crack down on corruption. In 2009, the U.S. government banned him from traveling to the United States, accusing him of obstructing the fight against corruption in Kenya. The move sparked a diplomatic row with Kenya. Amos Wako denied any wrongdoing. After serving as Attorney General, Amos Wako was elected to Kenya's Senate in 2013 and was re-elected for a second term in 2017. Wako was blacklisted under an executive order that prohibits officials of foreign governments involved in corruption from entering the United States, as well as their immediate family members. This was the second travel ban issued to Amos Wako by U.S. The first one came in 2009, after a disputed Kenyan presidential election that triggered deadly post-election violence. Amos Wako demanded the details of his corruption allegations to be made clear.
The reasons given on 4th December 2009, slightly over 10 years ago, for the revocation of my visa and the permanent suspension of my entry into the United States of America were that I had engaged in corrupt actions which adversely affected the national interests of the United States of America. The current travel ban, the allegation is that I was involved in significant corruption, both in that year, 10 years ago, and now, 10 years later. They relate to my period as Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. It is therefore, you journalists, an old story being resuscitated for reasons best known to whoever is doing it. For the time being, timing best known to whoever is doing it. Instead of dealing with the developments in the area of corruption which have occurred in the last 10 years since my last travel ban, they have decided to go into history and flog a dead horse. One therefore must be left to wonder, why should a travel ban be issued when there is already one in place issued 10 years ago based on the same reasons?
In October 2005, former Transport Minister Chris Murungaru was declared ineligible to enter the U.S. Through a letter to the minister, the then U.S. Embassy Consul General, Scott Reedman, informed the minister in the Mwai Kibaki administration that he would not be eligible for any of their visas. However, the U.S. government did not clearly state why the minister had been barred from the U.S., adding that it would review his visa application in the future. Dr. Murungaru was appointed the Minister of State for Provincial Administration and National Security in 2003, making him directly answerable to President Mwai Kibaki. But barely 3 years later, he would leave government controversially after being named in the infamous Anglo leasing corruption saga that saw more than 600 million shillings lost. For many years, former Kenya Power CEO Samuel Gichuru and former Cabinet Minister Chris Okemo have spent a lot of time in the corridors of justice over corruption allegations. In November 2021, the Supreme Court granted the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nordin Haji, the go-ahead to extradite the two former government officials to the Royal Court of Jersey to face corruption charges. Jersey is a dependent territory of the United Kingdom. The two were blocked from accessing America over allegations that they received kickbacks after awarding KPLC contracts to a Jersey-based company. Company attached to Samuel Gichuru pleaded guilty to money laundering of over £3.4 million, which is about $500 million in Kenya shillings, and another $540, which is about 54 million Kenya shillings, being proceeds of corrupt dealings at KPLC. Also in the 2011 Obama 5 was Kenyan businesswoman Naima Nyakaniwa, who at the time was facing drug trafficking charges in Tanzania after a raid by police officers in her Dar es Salaam house. The businesswoman, popularly known as Mama Layla, was banned from entering the U.S., with Obama directing that the government seizes property belonging to Mwau and Nyakaniwa in the States. Subscribe to Online Community K for more of jaw-breaking stories.